Hello, hello, this is Ana Dominguez, your language coach, and today we are going to review together the Unit 60. If you are preparing the civil exam next 2023 for Escuela Oficial de Idiomas o Secundaria Inglés, this information is going to be very useful. Here I present the PDF that I have made to review with you the information, the content of this unit. So stay here with me and review the content. The Unit 60 is about contemporary short American novel, story and essay, selection of text, and analysis of a representative work. And as you can see, you have the index, then you have, as I always give you, the bibliography. Why? Because it is important that you develop and that you do some further research on the topic. And here you can find the books that you can check. Then we have principal questions that you can go to my website and answer these 4 questions. Origin and background of the short story in America. Flannery O'Connor's literary style. Comment of the work of a contemporary American essayist, o sea, ensayistas, and the novella. So I keep reading the outline or topic summary or lesson plan. This is the brief summary of the content of the unit. Introduction. The short story and the novella are prose genres whose most distinctive feature seems to be their limited length, although other criteria must be taken into account. The essay in the 20th century is, in turn, virtually limited to the academic field or to journalism. The short story in contemporary United States. Then you should have to say something in the introduction, and then I'll tell you something else. The short story origin, background, and affinities is very similar to the one that I have already read when we were doing the short novel in Britain, when we did also other writers in Irish as well, Irish literature and so on. So you can also go and check other units that we already have seen together. So here we have the background of the short story, and they are saying that it's about 20,000 words, and to its turning around a central anecdote that, once exploited, makes irrelevant the continuation of the narration. That's why it's short. The short story in Britain has received a late development due to the importance of the novel as a mode of prose writing. However, in America, both cultural and economic reasons have made possible the birth and blooming of the aforesaid genre. And genre, I comment also here that this is one of these words that is very difficult for us, for Spanish speakers, because we confuse it with gender. Don't confuse it, okay? Just go and check in word reference how it is said correctly if you don't catch my accent. But if not, just repeat after me. It's not the same to say gender than genres, genres in plural, and in singular, gender. Okay, we keep going. Here, I present you the American short story song contemporary practitioners. You probably have heard of her, and it appears in some advertisements lately that says how to do a master class with her online. So you probably have heard of her. Joyce Carol Oates. She's a Gemini, as you can see, from US, and fiction and drama writer, poet, critic. Joyce Carol Oates is one of the most prolific and multi-talented writers of the current century. From her first novel in 1964, she was only 26 years old, with Sharon Fall up to 1987, Kindred Passions, she has built up a literary corpus that mixes Gothic estrangement with high social observation. Her works contain the typical elements of this type of tale: unconscious forces, seduction, incest, violence, rape, sometimes to the point of sensationalism. All this is a variety of genres, eras, and landscapes. Thus, she has novels settled in a Faulkner-like region of Erin County, in academia, the Detroit slums, or the Pennsylvania backwoods. Her short story, Where Are You Going? Where Have You Been? This is a short story that she dedicated to Bob Dylan after listening to his song It's All Over Now, Baby Blue in 1966. This is just a kind of nice thing to remember her as well if you like also Bob Dylan. She dedicated one of her short stories to him. Flannery O'Connor, interesting girl. You probably have heard of her, and she died very early when she was only 39 years old. Flannery O'Connor kept the voice of Faulkner going in American fiction, and at the same time she carved her own territory different from Faulkner's. The cornerstone of her fiction rests on her Catholicism in a Protestant South. Her themes are the implicit and explicit violence of those who live intensely, indistinguishable lines of love, hatred, bizarre, possessed people whom she makes familiar and apparently ordinary. And you probably have, already heard, and if not, you could also comment below in my website, because I'm going to ask you something related about her. In my website, you can find, this form that you can complete, and one of them is to talk about her style after you have read already the short story that I'm going to tell you later at the end of the video. And we keep reading another one. I love placing pictures and names, and you can also link to the Wikipedia information, so then you could do some more research about them. And she is an Aquarius, Carson MacCullers. Her real name was Lula Carson Smith. And in the generations previous to O'Connor, Carson's MacCullers in the Heart is a Lonely Hunter, 1940, seemed to be mining Faulkner material, but came to define her own ground. Her point of view embraces the obsessive need for man to revolt against his own inner isolation, to express himself as fully as possible in a wasteful, short-sighted society. There are stirrings of a different sensibility presenting those themes of liberation and independence, which will read the female experience of the late 1960s and 1970s. Forgive me, I have misspelled there. That's a 19, not 10. And then we continue with Eudora Welty, 1909, 2001. She's Aries, as you could see, from United States. Eudora Welty is an American short story writer and novelist whose work is mainly focused with great precision on the regional manners of people inhabiting a small Mississippi town that resembles her own birthplace and the Delta country. We keep reading another thing, the novella. This is interesting in its prose genre, whose length, it is a prose genre, whose length is about 40,000 words, thus escaping the level of short story or novel. Detailed children's literature in English. Recent phenomenon, second half of the 18th century. Reasons, children were simply diminutive century. Books were expensive, widespread illiteracy. So reasons why these, why people were writing tales. So 19th century Alice and, this one is in the 19th centuries, Alice Adventures in Wonderland, Treasure Island, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. I'm just giving you names for you to refresh the tale, because now we're talking about the tale and how this is going to impact in the literary styles of writers. First modern picture book, The Tale of Peter Rabbit. Fullest development in the 20th century. different plots, characters, and genders. And yeah, I think tales are essential also for our own development of literature and telling stories. So that's why it's being placed here. And because it's kind of short, short stories, tale sometimes are kind of, could also be called a novella. General features and forces of children's literature. Main features: the discovery of the child, slow development, the didactic versus the innate genitive, shifting vision of the child, the tempo of development. Children's literature in the United States, fewer peaks. For example, Huckleberry Finn, Little Women, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, belated development. We have pioneers in everyday life books, beginners books, non-class-based small-town stories, and new realism. Marketing and new trends. And just I'm telling you just things that you would consider when thinking about the novella. So you could just go and find your own opinion and your own way of developing this point. The second point actually of this unit. And now the third point of this unit is the essay, origins of the essay. The essay is a mode of prose whose official inaugurator in Europe was Michel de Montaigne. Through his essays, works in which his personal opinion about a variety of topics was slightly rendered. In Britain, Francis Bacon is regarded as the best representative of the genre in its origins. And if I'm not mistaken, Francis Bacon is from the 17th century, could it be? So, it has already had an impact there. And then we have the American essay in the 20th century. We have Edmund Wilson, his Towers, and Wilson concerned himself with both literature and social themes and wrote as historian, poet, novelist, editor, and short story writer. He covered a multitude of subjects, proving each with an expansiveness that was firmly rooted in scholarship and common sense. And he expressed his personal points of view in a prose style, which was generally praised for its clarity and precision. Okay, so this Edmund Wilson. Then we have Lionel Trillling. Lionel Trillling is, as you can see, he is cancer, and he was living in New York, and he lived till 1975, age 70. Lionel Trillling was a literary critic and teacher whose criticism was based on a thorough analysis of psychological, sociological, and philosophical aspects. Then we have John Crowe Ransom. He is Irish, and you could see that he lived till 86 years old. And Ransom was a poet and critic who has been traditionally acknowledged to be the leading theorist of the Southern literary Renaissance. I think I misspelled that. Renaissance that started after World War I. It was the New Criticism, 1941, that provided the name of the influential mid-20th century school of criticism. So this man is important for the New Criticism, 1941. Just remember that. And then Cleanth Brooks, this is the last one. He was Libra, and he died in 1994. Cleanth Brooks was a teacher and critic whose work was important in establishing the New Criticism, which stressed close reading and structural analysis of literature. And that's it. We have finished with the authors, but now I'm going to leave you with this one, analysis of a sample text, Good Country People from Flannery O'Connor, the girl that died very, very, very early. And the thing is that it will be important that you read this one. If you click in my material, you click there, you can find it in a PDF. And you should be talking about the plots and O'Connor's literary style. And that's it. We have finished with these American writers. I hope that you have enjoyed, that you find this interesting. Please subscribe to my channel and comment something below. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.